Hey, Myles here for Tactical Hyve, and in this video I wanted to cover some of the common mistakes we see whenever we're attending classes out in different places and also in our classes. And the whole purpose of this video is to share these common mistakes that shooters have with their pistols so that it can save you some time, money, effort in your training, so that you're learning from the mistakes of others and you can excel faster. All right, so top 5 mistakes that we see. Now there's a lot more out there, but again, these are the top 5 that we've noticed. The first one is stance, has to deal with stance, and that's having a straight body when you're shooting. Now there's a time and place where you can have a stance and be straight up. Okay, but for example, when you're shooting for precision at far distances, when steadiness is more important than stability, all right? And that's something that it would be a topic for another video, but when you're standing straight, this can help you with further distances when you need to be steady, all right, and take that shot. But when we're talking about practical shooting, and in most applications in self-defense, you're probably going to be shooting more than one shot, and you have to do so in a rapid manner. So in order to manage the recoil, you need to have a forward center of gravity to actually combat that recoil. Now, one might say, okay, you don't really need to lean forward or have a forward center of gravity because you're shooting a pistol. That's true. You could shoot a pistol or any gun for that matter standing straight, but is it optimal? All right, so we're talking about having the most optimal performance. So if you want to shoot fast and accurately, rapidly, all right, so multiple shots, you definitely need to have a forward center of gravity, and we'll show you exactly what that looks at. So instead of having stance like this, all right, where we're standing up straight, and you guys will notice it. If you really do pay attention at the range, indoor range, outdoor range, the next class you take a look around. You might even see instructors doing this too, all right? And it could be maybe they're doing it on purpose, but maybe also there's some bad habits. It could be, all right? So, but the main thing here is instead of standing up straight, you want to have a forward center of gravity. Now, there's more to it than just leaning forward, but for the sake of this video, just keep in mind that you do want to have that forward center of gravity rather than standing up straight like this, all right? And let's see how it looks like comparing standing up straight and having a forward center of gravity. All right, so we're gonna go live, and what I'm going to do is show you the difference between standing up just upright and then having a forward center of gravity. So again, you could shoot your pistol standing upright, no big deal, but what if we were shooting rapidly? I want you to take a look at this, okay? So I'm gonna fire 3 to 5 shots rapidly standing up straight here. Okay, so you'll see, yes, I nailed the target, but all of a sudden my shots start to go up high. If you take a look at the bullet holes here, you'll see they're going up high because I'm beginning to lean back because of the recoil, all right? So all of my shots are going to be less accurate and precise because I'm standing up straight, right? Yes, I can nail the target, but it might not be optimal. Now here I'm standing with a good stance, forward center of gravity here, and I'm gonna do it again. Okay, that body is not moving back as much, okay? And when it does, it goes right back to its original position. All right, so the second most common mistake that we see is not gripping the pistol high enough under the beaver tail or the tang of a pistol here. So a lot of shooters, they may grip it this way, and this is not going to be good to battle muzzle flip of the gun. So every time you shoot, right, recoil happens, slide cycles, and there's muzzle flip, okay? Now when you have a low grip like this, all right, with a lot of a gap here, what's going to happen is there's going to be more space for muzzle flip. What you want to do is you want to get your grip nice and high, okay, up on the beaver tail, no space. Okay, no space on both sides. And here you're going to have the most optimal grip to battle muzzle flip in terms of positioning of your support hand and the web of your hand, okay? And typically this can happen where people just, maybe they haven't really practiced enough and their grip comes down, all right? So what you want to do is when you are gripping your gun, really drive up underneath the beaver tail here so that you have a good grip. And so I'm going to demonstrate the differences there, because if you do have this grip with a space here, you will see a noticeable difference in the muzzle flip. And it's important to get high because when you control it better, you can get your sights on target faster. There'll be less muzzle flip and you can get your sights on target faster so you can shoot faster, right? So let's take a look at how it looks, the differences between having a good grip up high and having it low. All right, so I'm loaded here, and I'm going to show you what the gun does, the behavior of the gun, if I have a low grip here, just like this. I'm going to grip it here, but I'm low. There's a lot of space here from the beaver tail, okay? Notice how that muzzle flip is really going up high and it's taking much longer to get down on target, okay? So now what I'm going to do is get up much higher with a proper grip, and notice there's going to be less motion here. All right, so that is the second most common mistake. Make sure you're getting really high on the beaver tail or the tang of your pistol. So the third most common mistake we see also deals with a grip. And this happens even if someone has a really good high grip on the beaver tail or the tang. It usually happens because their thumb on their firing hand is actually down here. And what happens is they try to grip with their support hand over top of this thumb. And what that does is it prevents you from getting complete contact with your support hand, the heel of your palm, on the grip of your pistol. So in essence, this thumb is in the way. And what happens is it creates all this space right here, which you can kind of even see here. Right? There's a space where when the gun recoils, that gun is actually going to move into the path of least resistance. So where there's space, you're going to get a little bit of wobble in your gun. So you're not going to have a steady shot. And when we're shooting, we want to try and treat our grip as a vise, keeping it in place, keeping the gun in place as much as possible. And when we have this thumb in the way, this is creating a very insecure vise. And that is going to really affect your accuracy. And again, your follow-up shots, because your gun is going to be wobbling. So in order to correct that, you want to keep this thumb up, get it out of the way so you have a high grip on your beaver tail and your tang, get that thumb up, then get this support hand nice and high as you can, all right? Some guns and some, depending on your technique, size of your hand, the gun you're using, sometimes you'll be lined with the slide. Some people might be a little bit higher. Some people will be a little bit lower, all right? But that's okay. There's little slight variations. What you don't want though is something really like this, really, really low, and there's a lot of space and it's just not secure at all. Okay, so once again, you want to get this thumb up high, get your support hand completely in contact with your pistol's grip. All right, and you should have a nice and high grip on your pistol, usually aligned with your slide, not down here. Now, the fourth common mistake that we see with pistol shooters is that they are slapping the trigger when they shoot. Now, there are differences in when you define slapping. There can be different ways to define that. For this particular video, the way we're defining is people who are actually jerking. So when they're presenting their gun to the actual target and they want to take a shot, instead of having a very smooth trigger pull to the rear, which has minimal effort, constant speed, and following the proper principles, what they do is in their mind, they want to break that shot and they literally just jerk that trigger really hard, all right? And what that does is, in the sense that the reason why it's a big mistake and it's going to affect one's shooting is that when you jerk the trigger, you tend to also incorporate your other fingers into your trigger pull, and that can actually cause your sights to go off target. And this is the idea of people, you may have heard people talk about the three amigos. Now, when you jerk your trigger, right, you tend to also activate these three amigos. And what that does is, if you're a right-handed shooter, there's a chance that when you jerk the trigger, your shot is going to go low and to the left. If you're a lefty, when you jerk your trigger, you're going to activate these three amigos and your shot is going to go low to the right, all right? So instead of doing that, you have to follow the proper principles of a good trigger pull, the proper or the perfect trigger pull. And that's not the topic of this video, but in the sense that you may have heard a lot of these things, straight to the rear, minimal constant pressure, only trigger finger moves. And so all of that needs to be in place for a good trigger pull. So one thing you want to avoid though at all costs is, again, jerking that trigger, a hard slap, right? And this is I'm going to demonstrate what that does if you jerk the trigger versus having a really nice pull, constant, minimal effort, pull straight to the rear. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate the wrong way of doing this, where I'm jerking the trigger, and let's see what it does in the target. I'm going to aim for the A right at the center of the USPSA target here. So again, I'm going to be jerking the trigger. Okay, so interesting, I've done it right so much that it is actually, you're not going to see a really big difference in the target. Now it's hitting center mass, but this is with me jerking the trigger and activating my Three Amigos a little bit. But I've noticed that, again, because I've worked on this so much, the proper mechanics, that it's not a gross, inaccurate shot. But now what I'm going to show is something where I'm aiming specifically at the A with the proper trigger press, and the grouping should be much, much better. So take a look at this here, all right? These next 5 shots. Okay. So it's a much, much tighter group versus that other one, the first 5, where I was actually jerking it, all right? And then so they were kind of all over the place. But if you don't have the proper mechanics with your grip, so the grip was actually my saving grace there, all right? It's actually securing the pistol as a vise. But if you don't have those mechanics and you're actually jerking that trigger, you will see your shots move to the left or low to the left if you're a righty, and as a lefty, low to the right if, again, if you're a lefty. What you want to do is just have that slow, or what I should say is smooth trigger pull to the rear, minimal constant effort, and only the trigger finger should move. So you don't want to jerk the trigger, all right? And the 5th common mistake we see with a lot of shooters has to deal with aiming, with their vision, and not seeing what they need to see in order to break an accurate shot. What do I mean by that? So you probably understand sight alignment, having your rear sight and your front sight aligned properly. Now, if you're a red dot shooter, it's even easier, right? Making sure that red dot is on top of exactly what you want to shoot. But when we're dealing with seeing what you need to see, when we see a lot of shooters making this mistake, they break the shot and they think that it should hit as part of the target, but it doesn't. And when we ask them, okay, what did they see? Did they actually pay attention to, you know, where the red dot was exactly, or were their sights aligned completely if they were using iron sights? Sometimes, you know, actually most of the time they can't really answer accurately. That tells us that they weren't really focused, hyper-focused on where their sights were, whether it's a red dot or an iron sight. So the key here is that if you are commonly making a mistake, or you commonly experience you're shooting, but to you your sights are aligned, but you know, when you're doing rapid fire, maybe you're focusing on your front sight, but you're not really understanding where that front sight lines up with your rear sight. All right, in those instances, you might be taking a shot when your sights are not perfectly aligned, so you're not getting the results that you want. Or perhaps with a red dot, maybe the red dot is not exactly where you want it to be when you break the shot. So the solution here is that you need to build better awareness of where your sights are, and really make sure before you break that shot that you are seeing exactly what you need to see. Your sights should be aligned perfectly, and those sights, those aligned sights, should be superimposed on the target the way you want it to be. So we're dealing with sight picture. So this is more of a discussion point here. This is not about shooting, it's more again about vision and what you see as the shooter. So before you break that shot, you have to have the discipline and the patience to ensure that you are seeing exactly what you should see in terms of proper sight alignment, and even with your red dot, seeing exactly where it should be before you break the shot. Okay, so there you have it. 5 common shooting mistakes that we see in our classes and the classes that we go to. And the real purpose of this video is to kind of save you, again, time, money, effort, by learning from the mistakes from others. So hopefully you watch this video, you pay attention and are aware of your own training and what's happening to you. And if you find that you're doing any of these mistakes, then look into correcting them, because you're going to see an immediate improvement in your shooting performance. If you guys like this video, want to see more content like this, make sure you like, comment, and hit the subscribe button. And we'll see you next time on the range.